After an incredible time with Don at the Experience Center, Julian and I wanted to see where it all began. We were so eager that we arrived 30 minutes early. So we made our way to Siemens Healthineers Med Museum because to truly understand the what, the why and the how of today's MRI technology, we must first understand the where and when, fundamentally its origins. Once surrounded by so much legacy, our curiosity took over. We explored not just the evolution of MRI, but the very foundations of radiology itself. We felt like kids in a theme park, a radiology wonderland. But the most special moment was yet to come. We were about to sit down with two pioneers of Siemens Healthineers' first MRI scanners, Arnold Oppelt and Eckhard Stetter. And we wanted to bring that conversation to you. So as we experienced history firsthand, you could too.
Arnold Eckhard, I think is a fantastic opportunity to be here with the very two Siemens MRI pioneers who designed the very first MRI scanner. We know nowadays with Siemens Healthineers we have a new completely reality about that, but we're here to ask you about the past. We want to explore the past of MRI with you. So my very first question I want to jump on is, Arnold, what do you think were the very first challenges back then when you had to design the very first MRI scanner? I already witnessed some of those in there. For instance, I noticed that despite the excitement, there was a lot of excitement about the new MRI scanner, but then suddenly you came to the question, okay, who's gonna interpret these images, for example? Now we're all excited about this, but there might be some challenges behind that.
Yes, Siemens decided in February 1978 to start an MR imaging project because from the literature we had read a lot, and we also heard that our competitor EMI developed such a system. So we had to decide what are the problems, because there are so many proposals to do imaging: line scan, point scan, projection reconstruction scan, Fourier scan, and we had to decide what is the best, how long will the imaging time be, what image quality would we expect. So we decided to develop a breadboard where we could test very much of these proposals. And we ordered a magnet at Oxford Instruments. It was a whole body magnet, 4 coils, resistive, with a field strength of 0.1 Tesla. Until this magnet arrived, 1 year we have to wait. So we assembled the data acquisition system and the RF system around an already available lab magnet. And then after the magnet arrived, we assembled the system in a wooden cabin because we were not sure if ferromagnetic surroundings would affect the homogeneity of the magnet, and therefore this cabin didn't obtain any ferromagnetic objects. And we shielded the magnet in the system with a Faraday cage, but still we had very many interferences from RF sources outside of the cabin. So we bought a green pepper, brought into the system, and switched on the system for 1 hour measurement. And because this is a long time, we had a 6-pack of beer, and we used this time to empty these bottles. But we learned that image contrast in MR is not only a matter of signal to noise, but it's a matter of the tissue parameters, MR tissue parameters, T1, T2, and so on. And this gives much better contrast of tissue than CT. And so to show just an example how important the sequence parameters are is these images of a hematoma in the brain, and you see here this in a spin echo sequence. It is shown very bright. In a T1 weighted system, one sees some structure here, and in an inversion recovery system, it's very dark.
And this is 1981?
This is 1982.
82?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, fantastic.
That's maybe already with a 0.2 Tesla system.
This is a 0.2 Tesla system.
So the second system
which,
we built
the
up.
second system.
So that 82 is more or less the time that
Well, I
Eckert
joined
the project,
joined the
right?
team at 81. And
81.
Also started with this prototype 0.2
Okay.
in the remote area there in the Central Research Center, well, I did experiments and learned how it works, yeah. And then we went back here to the building which was here in
Which
close.
doesn't exist
yeah,
anymore.
Which does not exist. And in this building we set up the second system with the 0.2 Tesla magnet, first with Oxford, and this magnet designed by the Central Research Labs was not in use in this prototype until we delivered it to Hannover. Yeah. And my task essentially was to bring this system, the second system, with 0.2 Tesla to a level where it can be easily operated also by medical technicians. So this very first prototype, it was typing things and selecting pulse sequences from a data file system, a little bit complicated, not very comfortable. And also the system was, you have seen it as a breadboard, you call it a breadboard, a prototype. But it was open, and also high voltage cables were not closed in, and we had not a display system and operating system which is useful for medical technicians. So I redesigned the software completely, and also connectors and interfaces have been changed to a more comfortable and faster data acquisition.
So Eckert, you're telling me that is because of you, Simon and I are getting a job today, essentially. Yes. It's thanks to you, essentially, that we can be radiographer. We have a nice operating platform that we can change parameters and everything. Well, you had quite an important role, I have to say, in our life.
Eckert is actually, you're a physicist, right?
I'm a physicist too.
But
yeah.
you were working, as Arnulf was saying, were transitioning from CT to MR because it was a brand new field, and you were in CT first.
I was first in CT in the industry, but in the studies I worked with magnetic resonance, but
Okay.
electronic.
So you had the electronic
And it was-
background as well.
Yeah, with computers. My task in my PhD was to set up a computer system to control a spectrometer. So I liked it very much.
That transition was kind of natural for you?
Yeah, you may say so, yeah.
Gentlemen, can I ask you a question? How was, this is for now, but obviously Eckert, if you want to get involved as well, how was the reaction of the public? I guess, you know, the idea that suddenly there is a machine that is able to diagnose some of the most crazy diseases that, you know, someone might have thought, okay, I might die because I have
Multiple
this.
sclerosis, for instance.
And then suddenly this news pops in and good, we're able to, you know, to detect these pathologies. How was the reaction?
I mean, the public was enthusiastic.
Yeah.
And there were doctors and patients every day with us. But I asked the doctors, well, imagine you have now to set up an own practice. Which system would you buy? Would you buy a CT system or an MR system? And the answer was a CT system, of course. But after 8 years, the answer was an MR system, of course.
Which year is this, more or less?
Well, I mean, let's say the first question was in 82.
82.
And then in 90 or so, it was clear they would prefer an MR system. Yeah.
That's because of the incredible contrast you can see in these images.
Yeah, those
These
images
are very
from
primitive,
82 are really good. They're really
low
good.
field, not optimized RF system, still too much noise. But
I believe
the contrast is fantastic.
I believe there's
compared
some
to
images
CT.
today. Some images today are, in some situations, of course, are almost comparable to those. So those images were really, really good back then in '82 with what you both have been developing. I think they were an amazing achievement back then.
And I mean, the development of MR also with Siemens was much faster than expected, because at the time when 𝐏𝐚𝐬𝐭 installed the Hanover system, which was the first clinical installation of Siemens at all, but at this time already the decision was made to found an own business unit and go for magnets with higher field strength, because this gives better imaging quality, and this means the resistive magnets were obsolete. Siemens used superconducting magnets. And the first superconducting magnets, they were 0.3 Tesla, and now they are 3 Tesla, 10 times more.
Even 7 Tesla.
Even 7 Tesla.
Experimental surrounding. Yeah.
This is all fascinating to me.
And also gradient strength. It's not only the magnetic fields, it's also gradient strength and switching times of gradients, because you want to make the imaging time as short as possible. And all this ramping of gradients is parasitic, essentially.
Actually, can you tell us a little bit more about the development? Because you both have witnessed this fantastic journey from the very beginning. Obviously, I'm not asking you to compare with today, but how was the journey? How was it, like evolving at a very fast rate?
Yeah, really, really.
I mean, our first images had an acquisition time from, let's say, about 5 minutes. And now the acquisition time is 5 seconds.
That's one of the questions because that I had for you. You're saying you took an hour to do that pepper and you had some beers. And that's a fascinating story to me, because nowadays we also scan fruits to show some sequences and to show how the scanners are behaving. But even on that, you were a pioneer as well, because you're using fruits already to test it. And that's so beautiful, because now in the present and in the future we keep doing that. We keep using fruits to test the technology, and the way you did it for me it's amazing. And again, for me it's an honor to be just sitting here talking to both of you.
And this time we had images that were single slices. Now you are doing the whole object 3D, and you can then view through the whole object in any direction.
So back then was one directional, like one plane, one slice, and
because you have 3 gradients to code the signal. The spatial coding of the signal, of the MR signal, is made by or performed by 3 gradients pulsed one after the other. And if you do it one slice, you select one slice and measure it.
You measure it and then you change for another slice.
Make phase encoding and reading, and this lasts for 5 minutes.
So it was a very laborious and
it was slow. Essentially, it was slow.
Yeah.
And with the first clinical prototype, which is shown here in this image, I also managed to make a software to make at least 8 slices in parallel. Select one, measure, wait for relaxation time, and in this meantime, I select the second slice, waiting for relaxation time, takes the next slice. So we was at that time already 8 times faster per slice.
So you were not just innovators, physicists, you were also technologists back then. You were also doing the scans yourself.
Software engineers.
You were like the whole thing.
I like this job very much because I understood the system completely, which I didn't do afterwards when I went to the product development department. I was only managing, essentially.
Gentlemen, that I think is amazing, and we will probably spend hours talking about this. The truth is, why we now had like a better idea how it was back to the old days, we need to jump a little more into the future, and that's why our next episode will be completely about that. But in the meantime, I think this has been a fantastic conversation, and I want to say thank you for both of you to be here. Thank you so much, Arnold. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arnold. It was a pleasure.
After an inspiring conversation with Arnold and 𝐏𝐻𝐻, we returned to the museum floor. They guided us through history using personal stories, told with the same kindness and passion they had back in 1982, when their first MRI project began. We spoke about being the voice of our generation and carrying Arnulf and Eckhardt's dream forward for the generations still to come. Seeing with our own eyes the pepper used in the first MRI sequences, alongside with original documents and images from those early days, while guided by the very first creators of such technology, was mind-blowing to us. Their passion is still alive today, even as the field continues to evolve. As we said our goodbyes, we couldn't hide our smiles. We were standing in presence of true greatness. We left the museum with full hearts and a bag full of knowledge we'll carry for the future. And speaking about the future, let's discover what Siemens Healthineers has in store for us.